Hello and welcome to my channel once again. My name is Halima and I am your host today. So I want to thank you once more for switching to this channel and watching my videos. So please feel free to like, comment and share and subscribe to this channel so we can reach a wider audience. So just so you know, what I try to do in this channel is to talk about issues which are relevant today in society, to promote peace, understanding, and also to show empathy and compassion to the people who need it. So I'm hoping to reach an audience who actually have would like to do this sort of things and also show support for people who need it. So if you want to support my channel, the best thing to do is to support my business on Amazon. It's done as Crown Cosmetics, and I'll also put a link on the description below for you. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. So today we're talking about um, Bishop T.D. Jakes. So I actually pose the question: is T.D. Jakes a disruptive preacher? Okay, is T.D. Jakes a disruptive preacher? Okay, so before you come at me, please, I want you to listen to the video in its entirety and then you make up your mind for yourself. Okay, so I must say, I have tremendous respect for T.D. Jakes and I listen to him, and I will actually go through what I meant when I asked about is it a disruptive preacher, so we can have honest conversation about this. Please share your opinions. Feel free to make comments. I appreciate constructive feedback and also positive comments. Okay. So for those of you who've never heard about TD Jakes, I put a picture up for you. You must be hiding somewhere in a log in some countries unheard of. Probably, or probably not a country where they accept Christian evangelists. So, T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, is well known in the USA and also somewhere in Europe and African countries, and even in South America. So, he's a pastor preacher, but he's more than that. If you've never heard of him, his actual name is Thomas Dexter Jakes, and he was born on June 9, 1957, but he's commonly known as T.D. Jakes. So he's an American non-denominational Christian preacher, and he's the senior pastor of the Potter's House, a non-denominational American megachurch. Bishop Jakes' church services and evangelist sermons are broadcast on the Potter's Touch. If you can go on any YouTube channel and pull him up, most of his sermons are there. He's also got a podcast, and he's also on Christian channels like TBN. Whether it's TBN America or TBN UK. He is the author of many books, and he's produced films. He's a philanthropist. He's an entrepreneur. He's a real estate mogul recently. So he is doing a lot of things. So he is not the conventional preacher that just preach and read sermons, but he does many things. So this is why I actually asked the question, is he a disruptive preacher? So T.D. Jakes is also married to Sarita Jakes, beautiful Mrs. Jakes, and also the father to 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. Bishop Jakes has a famous daughter called Sarah Jakes Roberts. Sarah is married to Tuwe Roberts, and I think they're both co-pastors of the Potter's House. For some of you who don't know Sarah, I think she's an amazing woman. She's come full circle, and Sarah, what I love about Sarah is the fact that she's not the conventional preacher's daughter. Sarah has been through difficult times in her life, and she's been transparent about those things. And it takes a lot of courage. And to think that you have a dad with such a big personality, who is so well respected, and be able to step out of her comfort zone, to own up to her mistakes, and to be able to allow the Spirit to work in her and to be converted is a testament to all of us, especially to women. So I applaud Sarah Jakes for all that she is. And I can confidently say I am truly inspired by Sarah and a story, a life, and the turnaround. I like people who actually are messy in the past, who've made mistakes. So life is not about getting through perfect, being perfect all the time. I'm not saying go deliberately and make a mistake, but Sarah has learned through her path and come out on the other side and been the beautiful person that she is, and made an example of her life to the world, to the public. I truly admire Sarah. When you listen to Bishop Jakes, you will know that you always be at the edge of your seats because you don't know what he's going to say. It can be, I won't even call it controversial. He speaks the truth as he is, and he's a scholar. He understands the scriptures. So he knows what he's saying. He's a master of theology. So for me, listening to Bishop T.D. Jakes is actually so inspirational. I have particular preachers that I actually listen to. If I want to deal with trials, if I want to deal with difficulty, if I'm going through hell, then I tend to T.D. Jakes, because those sermons will truly give you the power and the fire that you need to fight that fight, to fight the good fight of faith, to be resilient, to know that without any doubt you're coming out on the other side, whether it's kicking and screaming or whether it's with your hands up and saying, Hallelujah, I'm here. So I truly admire him. I admire his tenacity. I admire the fact that he doesn't mind being controversial. He doesn't mind people putting a meme on him, on putting memes up on social media, and taking excerpts of his sermon, and just using that you know to sometimes just make a laugh out of it. He's got such a thick skin, which is nothing can actually shake him. But I'm sure it's never been the same. It's not always been that case. It's actually grown along the way to what it is now. So I have just come across his recent book, Disruptive Thinking. And I had to pre-order this book on Amazon, which I'm actually reading. And I must commend him for this. This book is inspirational. This book is marvelous. So I will recommend that you buy this book. The reason why is just not enough to actually listen to a sermon on disruptive thinking. You might need to just grab this book and read a chapter or two. Now, so what I'll be doing today is just going through some of the excerpts on this book itself, and to be able to understand disruptive thinking. Well, I did say he wasn't a conventional preacher, and he does many other things. And one of them is writing. He loves writing books, and books are actually very inspiring. He's written many books like Life Overflowing, Crushing, Instinct, Woman Thou Art Loose. I particularly like Crushing as well. It's a really good book to understand that's what we need to go through pain to come to the other side. So he's a really good author, and the way he expresses himself and how he actually link it to biblical principles. So because he's a preacher, most of the things that he says in his books, which are actually good for transforming our lives, are biblical principles. And they are actually powerful. So I would recommend just check out his books. I'm not here to, it's not paying me to tell you to buy his books. But if you want to experience life changing, or you want to change the way you're living your life and you're not happy about it, or just want the power to be able to make the changes and the adjustment that you need in your life, then grab one of his books. Okay, you will not be disappointed. So in the book Disruptive Thinking, Bishop Jakes asks, who are disruptive thinker and what is disruptive thinking? And there are 5 key points to note about this. So if you are a disruptive thinker, you do not have time to negotiate peace settlements with people who want to define you by their description of you. Some people will define you by where they met you. Oh, I know so and so. He was divorced. Oh, I know so and so. He had this problem. Oh, I know this. He's an alcoholic. Oh, I know this. Is a is an addict. Oh, I know this. He's got issues with mental health. And some people want to define you by that. But life in itself is a process, it's a transformation. We go through stages in life and no condition is permanent. So for you to be a disruptive thinker, you should not have time to negotiate peace settlement with people who want to define you by where you are, where they met you. So disruptive thinkers don't have time for that. Second key component about being a disruptive thinker is that we have to we have to have a vision that is larger than ourselves, and we have to depend on a force larger than ourselves, because we are not going to weather the storm or go through the challenges, you know, um, if we are actually if we don't have a vision that's bigger than ourselves. So we have to think bigger than the situation that we're in. We have to think outside of that situation. So don't be afraid to dream big and aim high as possible, because this is what disruptive thinker do, and I'm sure this is what a disruptive preacher does as well. The third component of disruptive thinking is that in order for you to understand life from somebody else's perspective, you have to be able to disrupt your norm. If all you're used to, if you've been in this bubble where your perception and your experience of people are actually quite limited, it'll be difficult for you to learn or see things from somebody else's perspective. So you have to break away from your own norm to be able to see and understand someone else's perspective. I think in a nutshell, it just means showing some empathy, showing some compassion. So if you're a disruptive thinker, compassion and empathy should be some of the key qualities that you need to have. Disruptive thinkers are most productive when we have a whole community of people that's galvanized around that disruption and support it. So if you're a disruptive thinker, don't always think you have to operate in isolation. For you to be more effective, it's important that you have a community, a group of people that surround and support you. There's so much you can do on your own. We are limited and we have to recognize our limitations. When you have a community of people that supports that disruption, then you can go far. Mind you, when I say disruption, I mean disruptive thinking, thinking for the good of mankind, of humanity. So it's not a disruption to do bad things, but it's a disruption to actually look at the status quo and see what impact that you can have on that, which can be for the good of humanity. So the fifth component of disruption and disruptive thinking is to know that when you come through a problem and you get to the other side, you've gone through the process. Say you're climbing a mountain and you come to the other side. That's not the end. You just need to look ahead and you see there's another mountain to climb. So your job is not done. So you're going through this process, you come on the other side, and that's not the end of it. As long as it's life, there's more struggle and more obstacles. So there's something else ahead of you. So someone once said this eloquently, that in life you're either leaving a problem or going to the next one. So you're either attacking a new problem or you're about to go to the next one. So it's never the end. So if only we can look at life and say, well, life is challenging. I'm going through this and I'll come out of it. And then once I come out of it, there's another mountain to climb. I'll have another obstacle. The problem will be disguised in another situation. So there's always a problem. I think if we all have that mindset and that mentality, we will not be crying victims all the time and say, Lord, why me? Or why is this happening to me? And I know for sure I struggle the same as well, because I want to get through my problems and come to the other side feeling happy. Like that's it. There's no more disruption. There's nothing else is going to happen. But then that's not the case. Say, for instance, if you're studying to get a qualification, at the end of that qualification, you have the ceremony, you're wearing your gown and everything looks nice, there's nice pictures. And then just to know that a month later, you need a job because you need to pay those bills and you need to pay that student loan. And then you have to go find a job. And that's another mountain because the job has its own culture. you know, you might find it hard to fit in, especially if there are systemic issues in that job, such as racial discrimination or gender discrimination or all sorts of discrimination. So there's another mountain to climb. And so in life, disruption never ends. We have to have that mindset. I think that is, if we can all have that mindset, that that in itself, we can conquer anything in life. When we go through chaos in life, just know that within every problem that you go through, there's an opportunity. Within that problem, there is an opportunity. So you just have to have a mindset. Either you're going to join the problem or you're going to provide a solution for the problem. So if you're a disruptive thinker, you might choose the latter. you know so for every problem, bear in mind there is a solution. You have to decide whether you're going to be part of the problem or part of the solution. There is an opportunity in every problem. So in his book Disruptive Thinking, Bishop Jake eloquently posed the question, who was more disruptive than Jesus Christ? So if you have been around church or if you've watched sermons or read the Bible, you will know that Jesus actually struggled with the religious sect in his days. There were the Pharisees and the Sadducees who don't deal with each other, and then there are the Jews and the Samaritans who don't even speak to each other or don't have anything to do with each other. So Jesus, most of these people were very religious. They look and appear religious and they love to obey the laws. In fact, for them, the law is everything. And yet, still, when Jesus came, he didn't side with either one of them. He actually disrupts that thinking, that way of thinking that the Jews have, that the Samaritans have, that the Sadducees have, and bring a new law, which is a law of love. So I think Christ himself disrupt the thinking of the people in his days. So if you're a disruptive thinker, you've got to know that God will promote you according to the level of the tolerance of your pain. If you cannot tolerate pain, you will not be promoted, because pain and struggles and trial is what we go through to come out to the other end. Because when we come out the other end, we'll be more compassionate, we'll be more we'll show more empathy, we'll be able to relate to people, be relatable. So you have to be prepared to go through struggles, if you're a disruptive thinker. I think it's important also that we all understand what our default is. You know, at the end of the day, when you go through certain issues or when you're happy, when you're sad, what is your default? Are you a giant slayer? Are you a problem solver? Are you a complainer? Are you a negative person? So I believe everyone has a default. It's important for you to recognize what's your default, because when once you recognize your default, you'll be able to disrupt that thinking if you need to change. You know, if you know your default is always to complain and complain, and there are new challenges, and all you see is problems and not solution, then you need to disrupt that thinking. That is where lies the problem. Your thinker needs to develop relationship with people who complements their limitations. We have to acknowledge the fact that we all have limitations. We don't have the monopoly on knowledge. And when once you acknowledge your limitation, you understand that life is a school of learning. So when you actually going through a new ventures, like you're going back to school to get a qualification, or you joining a new organization to get a job, you are actually opening a new business venture, you're going in partnership with somebody else, you are going into a new relationship. It's important that you're going to learn before you go in there matching orders and trying to teach everyone what you already know. It's important to be quiet and learn. Before you can teach, you've got to learn. And most of the time, I think we go into situation where we want to be the boss, where we want to tell everyone what to do, when in actual sense, we don't even have the knowledge, we don't have the skill sets. We're there to learn. And so if as a disruptive thinker, you have to go through life knowing that each situation is a learning process. And when once I learn what I need to learn, I can then teach it to other people. You don't go into a relationship, especially, which is something that they don't teach us about in school, thinking you know everything, or you know everything about that person, and you want to be the boss of that relationship. It doesn't work that way. You're there to learn. Try and understand the person you're with. Try and learn about them, and then you can then teach what you know. So we all make mistakes in life, and that's something a disruptive thinker has to be prepared to work with people who complement their limitation. Most of the time, we forge relationship with people who we feel comfortable with, who we know we can give them advice, who come to us with their problems. But then we have to ask ourselves, who is feeding us? Who is feeding us? And you need to have somebody that is smarter than you, or people you need to be in a circle of people who are smarter than you, who have the experiences, who have done ventures that you've never done, so that you can learn from those people. And when once you learn, you grow, you'll be able to tackle that situation better. In his book Disruptive Thinking, Bishop Jakes is saying to you, if you don't like the life you're living, you have the power to change it. It's inside of you. Fix it. It's about choices. Now, my people, we are not trees. If you don't like where you are, move. Sometimes we want people to fix the situation. We want someone to come and save us. When in actual fact, we have caused ourselves to be in that situation, or in another fact, it might be somebody else that's caused the situation on us. We have to be able to think things through and disrupt the way we think, and ask yourself, why am I in this situation? I don't want to be here. And if you are in an abusive relationship, for instance, or you don't like where you are in your life and you want to make changes but feels like you're trapped, just know that you have the power inside of you to fix it, to make the changes that you need to come out of that situation. So we're not trees. If you are not happy with where you are, just know that you can change the situation. It's about choices. It's about life choices. So these are the things that the disruptive thinker has to be able to come to terms with. that you have the power within you to fix it. So Bishop Jakes is giving you the tools to make those changes. And if you ever find yourself in a position of power, a position of leadership, whether you're a leader of a country like a president, or you have a leadership position, whether you're a leader in an organization, or whether you're a leader of a church, whether you're a leader in education like a teacher, just be aware that a leadership role is a position of servitude. You are not a good leader if you do not serve. It's not the other way around. People are not there to serve you. As a leader, you're there to serve. And I think this is a big key, a big takeaway from, with when it comes to our African leaders sometimes, that they think the people are there to serve them. And it's not just African leaders, it can be leaders here in the Western world, because sometimes they operate in a way where they think that the people should be serving them and not the other way around. So it is a position of servitude. So we have to be humble. A disruptive thinker should have humility, so you should be humble. Humility is one of a key aspect of a disruptive thinker. The question posed in the beginning, yes, so Bishop Jake is a disruptive preacher. Yay! And he's a disruptive preacher because he's more than a preacher. He's many things. Entrepreneur, a father, leads a mega church, he's got businesses to run, he's a philanthropist, he's got foundation and organization that he supports, charity organization. And also Bishop Jakes is a disruptive preacher because he gives you a sermon that's life transforming, that changes the way you think. He's not just a preacher, doesn't just preach to you to pray. He gives you the tools that you need to make the changes to your life, to overcome obstacles, to overcome challenges. It interrupts the status quo. It doesn't tell you to just be happy with where you are, but that you have everything that you need within you to change, to make the changes. And I think in this time, in this day in our life, we need someone like this, someone like Bishop J, who is a disruptive preacher, who actually take things to the next level, who opens our horizon and broaden our understanding of the world and the challenges that we will face, and give us the life transforming tools to become better people, better disciple, better whatever it is you're venturing into. So thank you for watching this channel, and please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Bye.